So I've compiled a list of some things that I think will at least insulate or protect you to some degree from a potential accusation of a Me Too coming at you in your future. The first very obvious one is obviously don't do it, right? Don't don't be a degenerate piece of shit. The other ones are more, for those that could be facing it and interact. I mean, look, half the population is women. I know that a lot of people have this potential solution where just don't deal with women. Just go your own way and stay on your side of the fence. And I don't think that's entirely practical, given the structure of how we operate with men and women and why we're here and all sort of stuff. So one of the things that one of the first things is, of course, not getting yourself in a position where you can be compromised. Like, look, man, it's guys like Russell Brand, even Andrew Tate. Like Tate had to go to full damage control motion because he knows he's been on a whole bunch of shows and podcasts prior to when they made the accusation, saying bombastic and outlandish things because it works, right? Like it gets eyeballs, it's red meat. People will click on you. It's more shareable. Oh, look what this guy said, and they forward it to somebody else so that it gets in front of somebody else. So it works from that perspective. And then he had to go and get all of these gals to provide video statements, testimony. I mean, there's got to be a whole team, running all that stuff. It's got to be a lot of work. And when you go out there and you want to confront the Klaus Schwabs of the world or the Matrixes or the Pfizers, all that stuff. Like, there's a reason why I'm not running a show called InfoWars or anything like that. Like, I have interesting conversations privately with people that are on my inner circle that I've drawn a perimeter around, that I'm close with, in all of these regards, right? You go out and you cast on a regular basis. You put a target on yourself. So being invisible. So the first tip I have is be more invisible to the damn matrix, if that's the word that we're going to use. There's no reason to paint a target on your back. Now, if you go and paint a target on your back, fine, but be anti-fragile. There's very, very few people out there that can go up against the matrix, we'll call it, and be entirely anti-fragile. On the balance of probabilities, especially most of the people that I've seen so far, because of the lifestyles that they've led and how they've made their money. And it's like, oh, they've got so much money and they've got these cars and the jets and the boats and the hypercars and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, all of those things exist, but what was the cost building up to that? Like, what did you do? How did you earn the money? Was there anything nefarious? Was there anything underhanded? Did it, to compromise anybody, to hurt anybody? Depending on how they're going to assess the situation, they're always going to take a look at your past. They're always going to take a look at how you've earned money, who you've interacted with, who you've hung out with, what you've done with your time, how you hold yourself out to the public, what your reputation looks like. They're going to look at these things and be like, this guy looks like a good target. We don't like what he's saying. Let's get some accusers who will, by the way, always remain anonymous or want to protect their identity, right? You can't, like, it's not revealed until the court documents are actually presented, obviously. So staying under the radar is not a bad thing. Let's just say that. The next point I have after that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got a few more. Next point I have after that is be in a long-term relationship. They can't accuse you, or it's going to be very, very difficult for them to accuse you of nefarious activity if you're with somebody, especially if you're with somebody that can corroborate a lot of the stuff, right? You live with somebody, you're dating them, you're in a long-term relationship. I mean, I guess maybe there's a slight advantage to living with somebody to avoid a Me Too, even though I'm not a big fan of living with a gal or getting married. Obviously, I don't think that getting married or living with a girl is an appropriate remedy to avoiding a Me Too. But being in an LTR, it's like, oh, he touched me or did that. It's like, well, that's interesting because I'm always with her, or her story can corroborate, your activities together, sort of thing. But I think the chances of you getting Me Too in a modern time, long is the key word here, right? If you're promiscuous and like racking up notches big time, the chances of you being accused of this and it's sticking, or being accused of this and people looking at you going, there's a chance, Russell Brand, there's a chance because of his promiscuous past that he may have done something. Is it likely? I don't think so. It's pretty unlikely. Again, it's like a guy with a supercar collection of 50 cars going and stealing a Kia. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. This guy was spoiled for choice. He had women throwing themselves at him. I don't talk about it very often, but because of my private coaching rate, when I'm dealing with people on an ongoing basis, on a long term, I've dealt with athletes, I've dealt with some actors, I've dealt with some politicians. The problems that they have in their lives and dealing with women, female nature, and the stuff that pops up is very, very different from, like the general public, right? High level people, weapons in the world, guys that are putting very significant dents in the universe, they have a different set of problems. But anyway, I'll keep going. Keeping records. We're always tempted, and I've done this when I'm dating, right? We're always tempted. It's like, da 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 da. She says something that annoys you, or she's being a brat, or she turns flaky, or whatever, and you're like, "Fuck this bitch," and you go and delete it all, right? You've lost all the text exchange, any photographs, I had an awesome time with you last night. Can't wait to see you again. Like all of that's gone, poof, right? Or if they're crazy in the head, like there's clear evidence in the messaging back and forth that she's a nutter, and you're just like, delete this bitch or block her or something like that. Then all of a sudden you've lost it all. So I think in this day and age, if you're dating and you're dealing with women and multiple women, obviously, it's prudent to keep records. Just saying, and never throw them away. So back them up, keep them somewhere. So if in 20 years' time something comes up, as absurd as that sounds, it's entirely possible the way things are going right now. Again, we're not seeing a limitation period on this. It's believe all women in any circumstance, anytime, regardless of the duration of time that passed. It doesn't matter, right? So keeping records is definitely going to be useful. I think messaging, and especially anything where she's either crazy or expressing that she's a bit of a nutter, or it's, again, had such a great time, you're such a gentleman, thank you for taking me out, can't wait to see you again, stuff like that, obviously. I'm going to skip over this next one because I don't think creeps are particularly relevant to the people that watch my stuff. I mean, bottom line, don't be creepy. Like, creepy guys will there's that meme from like Barbara and HR. There's two photographs. There's like the creepy, weird looking guy, and he's like, "Hey Barb, you're looking good today." And she's like, "Hello HR, Bill is bothering me again." And then the next one is like Chad Thundercock, the tall, strapping dude with the square jaw, muscle bound, wide shoulders, narrow waist, like the cartoon character of him. And she's like, "Hey Barb, looking good." And she's like, "Gee, thanks." Right? Like, women, when women are attracted to a guy, strongly attracted to a guy, have genuine burning desires, I discuss in chapter 3 of my book, which, again, if you haven't read. When women have a strong pull to a guy, it's very obvious, and it's a very secure place to be, if we're being honest. If you get creepy on her, if you're chasing her, if you're getting sippy on her, this is where you're going to run into problems. But again, look, if you guys are plugged in and paying attention to what I'm talking about, you're not creeps. So let's just move on from there. I don't need to spend too much time on it. Here's an interesting one that I made a note on, is avoiding doing things alone with women. I had a buddy of mine that I was in a business forum with for a while, and because he saw a friend get Me Too'd, he made it a policy that if he had to meet with any females in his line of work, he always had a third party there, whether it was somebody that worked with him or somebody that worked with them. He never put himself in a position where he was ever going to be left alone for any reason whatsoever with another woman. So whether it was a dinner, like if there was a dinner invitation, he would say, no problem, but I have to bring my assistant to to take notes. Or if there was, like a private event, there was always going to be other people there. And if there wasn't there, then he would have to reschedule. And I think, I mean, it's difficult, man, because it's like you'd like to kind of go through life thinking that you can just do it and not have to worry about some psychopath trying to ruin you like 10 years later. And you got to keep fucking notes and not delete stuff and have a third party there. But it makes sense, right? Like it makes sense, especially if you're a guy that's like married or you're in a like monogamous type of relationship. If you're ever going to get accused of cheating or some shit like that, you've got a third party. It's like, yeah, what are you talking about, right? So not putting yourself in an environment where you can be accused of it is probably a smart thing to do as well. Take it for what you want. Ties into space and distance. And I think the last note before we start taking some of these call-ins here, and I will get to the call-ins, we get lots of time for these tonight, is managing your reputation, right? You ask anybody that's known me for a long time, you'll get a very accurate description of who I am, the kind of man that I am, how I lead my life, how I treat people, all that stuff. You'll get a very clear, concise, and consistent message on my reputation. What your reputation is outside of that, like there's some weirdos out on the internet. Just being honest with you, like people are all like, "Well, Rich, why don't you, ask me a question on a podcast about like what's your age or something like that?" I'll just be like, my answer to that is I'm a product of the 70s. I'm a kid of the 70s sort of thing. Why do you want to tell us your age? Well, I worked in credit facilities and credit card collections and stuff like that. And I understand very well how data is collected, how they collect data, how you can reverse data, you can do reverse lookups and things like that. So I think it's prudent to not give out information that isn't relevant to discussion. Saying that I'm a product of the 70s is more than sufficient in my opinion. But beyond the opinions of that, people are going to make up shit. Oh, he's not going to tell you because he's older than he says he is. He's younger. He's on this fucking hormone, or like they've got more stories than Walt Disney. It's funny because I stopped reading the comments a long time ago, but when I was looking at them, like you'd read some just weird shit, like you think you know me, bro, or some woman would say something. It's like, yeah, okay, this guy's an incel. Yeah, okay. So managing your reputation within the people that you're in contact with and with your circle really, really matters. Be polite, be a gentleman, be a man of your word, be impeccable, with your word. When you're talking business, when you're talking anything, related to your reputation, do what you say you're going to do. It's simple. Do what you say you're going to do, right? Like be a man. And you're like, it seems so easy and simple to say, but there's a lot of real pieces of shit out there these days that will do anything to take money from you, right? Or to take away from your reputation or anything that you've built for yourself. A lot of the times it's because of envy and jealousy, and they just do these things because it's like it's easier and more fun for them than doing the work, right? So managing your reputation as far as you can control it is a wonderful approach to life in general. I don't think that you should do this just to avoid being Me Too, but I think that managing your reputation is incredibly important as far as a life hack, as a guy. Let people on the outside say whatever they want about you. Like these dipshits will go and make up all kinds of stories about me, and they'll make videos and they'll say stuff. And every time I ever looked at one in the past, it's all fucking made up shit. Like 99% of it is just bullshit. And the 1% that's not, it's exaggerated truths. Manage your reputation that you can control. That's the important aspect of this. Very important to do that. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here and pin down below in the top comment. You'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.